was talking about Rupture and Reconstruction a few years ago. What was Rupture and Reconstruction? Rupture and Reconstruction was Rabbi Dr. Chaim Soloveitchik's seminal essay about how halachic practice and the study of halacha has changed majorly in the last few decades, especially after the World Wars and the Holocaust, the tremendous rupture, and the Reconstruction. And that led to the study and practice of Torah going from what he called the mimetic tradition, just doing what we always did, do it as you learned, to what he called the text-based study and a text-based reconstruction. Now, he didn't actually make a value judgment on that. He just noticed that, he grew up and the mimetic tradition was considered strong. That's what you're supposed to stick to. This is what we've done. We'll continue doing so. We study these things, but we also have fealty to tradition and practice. And with the advent of a number of great scholars who, I guess, employed more critical method, text-based method, sometimes overturning years of precedent, hundreds of years of precedent, starting with the Shach, continuing through the Gra, and especially with the Mishnah Berurah, even though the Shach, the Gra, and Mishnah Berurah have perhaps many different conclusions to which they arrive, but they have one essential tzad hashaveh, one common denominator. They're text-based. They go back to the sources, the text-based sources as they're recorded, and use that as the yardstick, as the basis for the psak. Okay, that's what he was talking about there. Torat Eretz Yisrael, how does it relate to this? Torat Eretz Yisrael, I guess, unfortunately, does not have a mimetic tradition in many cases because the Israeli Jewish community had its own upheavals that basically eliminated it. One of the most important examples that the rabbi was mentioning was the idea of keeping a one-day Rosh Hashanah. The mimetic tradition, as it was in the land of Israel, apparently for centuries, was one-day Rosh Hashanah. And a text-based conclusion of the Rif and the Rambam is that no, it should be 2 days, and that became the practice. So that, I guess, would be the first text-based reconstruction against a mimetic tradition, but it was very weak. And if we would want to go back to perhaps doing things the way they were, redemptive mode Judaism, then we would have to say that a lot of the mimetic traditions have to be left in Chutz La'aretz, so to speak, and we have to go back to a text-based tradition. Although that would be the first Havamina. I think that neither of those are essential for redemptive mode Judaism. As a matter of fact, neither of those are even the ideal, but rather a third approach, which is the one that we mentioned before, the Rav Kapach approach within the Rambam, which is the halacha is as the Sanhedrin decides. So you could have a matter that is well known among Jews. It's almost unanimous based on Talmudic texts and tradition. But it could very well be that Sanhedrin in the future will overrule such a thing, or even come to radically different conclusions. And that's perfectly valid. As a matter of fact, that's desirable. That is the definition of oral Torah, not necessarily tradition. That's not Torah Misinai or Halacha Moshe Misinai, but that's what we call Torah Sheba'al Peh, the way the oral Torah evolves. And although this sounds kind of almost smacking of reform to us, we have to understand that. I think Rav Sharkey said it this week. He said, yes, but when the Sanhedrin's doing it, it's perfectly valid. The problem was, let's say, reformers and conservatives and etc., they give themselves too much power that's inappropriate.